Outside of the Echo Chamber, the official I Dream of Indie Games podcast is brought to you by you, the gamer. If you'd like to join our mission to support indie visibility, head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. Well, hey there, indie warriors, and welcome back to the wildest, zaniest, most epic indie gaming podcast on the internet. Sure, there might not be a ton of choices within the indie gaming podcast spectrum, but this is the one and only I Dream of Indie Games podcast. I'm your host, Ole Gamer Joe, and as always, I'm joined by the mesmerizing SilentSigns and the wickedly talented BarelyMagicMike. We're here to cheer on the indie gaming scene, giving a big salute to its developers and publishers with daily reviews, gameplay impressions, sneak peeks of upcoming releases, top 10 videos, and of course, this delightful show outside of the Echo Chamber. A big thank you to everyone who backs independent content. If you're as nuts about indie games as we are, you can help keep the dream alive by visiting patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. By joining us, you'll unlock access to the coolest indie gaming club on Discord, get early access to ad-free shows like upcoming indies, and this podcast 3 days early. Plus, Patreon supporters get a shout-out in every video we concoct, no matter the tier. And most importantly, you'll be supporting indie visibility. In today's episode, as per our usual shenanigans, we'll dive into some indie gaming news stories, throw out our question of the day for myself, SilentSigns, Mike, and all of you, and engage in our weekly debate on how we feel about censorship in games. Remember, you can catch the podcast on Spotify through our YouTube channel in the podcast section and on YouTube Music. With all of that out of the way, I hope everyone is doing well. I personally had an interesting week. I actually started counting my calories. I am back on the MyFitness app because I need to drop some pounds. I got a little bit of a scary number on the scale recently. Have any of you experienced the MyFitness app before?
It's MyFitnessPal, first of all.
MyFitnessPal, sorry.
Can I recommend something to you, actually? I've been doing the same thing, but I'm not really a fan of MyFitnessPal. I think it's kind of clunky. And I've been using Lose It instead.
Yeah, that one, you can scan the barcodes with that one, right?
Yeah, you can scan the barcodes. It remembers meals you recently put in. I just feel like it's so much easier to use. It's so much less of a pain, in my opinion. MyFitnessPal is okay, but I found that I hated calorie tracking less, marginally less, by using Lose It. But yeah, I support you. I'm trying to do the same thing. It's hard trying to intermittently fast too, which is also hard. Dieting's annoying.
It asked me for money when I try to scan on MyFitnessPal.
Yeah,
don't
do
it's
that.
like some sort of premium type service, but it's a little bit annoying. But at the same time, I've kind of made it into this fun video game-esque part of my life where I'm like, oh, I have this many points left. I can eat these 5 little pieces of dark chocolate tonight, and I'm really excited about it. So I've already dropped a pound since starting, so progress. The only other thing really going on in my life personally is we got a strange email, SilentSigns. This involves PAX East, which is coming up in May. We actually had first received notification that we are accepted as media, and then 4 or 5 nights ago, we got notices that we are no longer accepted or not accepted, rejection notices, basically. Then we got apology notices, and they were like, oh, sorry, we just fucked up completely. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, what was up with that?
I think an intern hit a button.
Uh-huh. I think so, too.
So that was a little bit of a jump scare. Anyways, in the middle of the night.
I mean, I wasn't all that scared. I was like, all right, well, that's one PAX I won't have to cover, I guess.
I saw the apology email first before I saw the rejection email, so I did not get the jump scare, thankfully.
Oh, see, I got the jump scare to the point where I responded. I'm like, are we going or not? Because I have an acceptance and a rejection. So
pick whichever one you want.
I guess someone had a terrible night probably going through emails.
Yeah, probably.
SilentSigns, anything new in your life?
Anything new in my life? No. It's winter. It snowed last night. I don't want to leave the house. That's about it.
How about you, Mike?
I love it. Pretty similar, I guess. I guess I'm not doing much other than playing all the cool indie games that have come out recently, including one that I think we're going to be talking about today.
That's right. That probably leads us here to our first news story. We're talking about a game about digging a hole. I did feature this on upcoming indies, not really thinking much of it. I thought it would be one of the smaller releases, but apparently this game has gone viral, SilentSigns. Let me pull up the article here from Games Press. Quote, with over 5 million views on TikTok, 2.2 million views on YouTube Shorts, and a jaw-dropping 14.5 million views on Instagram Reels, the viral gaming sensation A Game About Digging a Hole has launched on PC for Steam. Published by indie label Rocaplay Boutique, A Game About Digging a Hole is an intriguing minimalist game that challenges you to dig a hole in your newly purchased house. Something gamers have been waiting for, as almost 140k of them have added the game to their Steam wishlist, which is interesting because when I last looked at this game, it was at like 1,000 to maybe 2,000 followers.
Okay, so I need clarification. So are you actually digging the hole in your house, like in your basement?
It's in your backyard. I say this as somebody who has completed a game about digging a hole. It took me a little bit over 2 hours, which I think is an excellent runtime for a game like this, especially given that it's $5. I can totally see why it went viral. It's really, it's like addictive. It's one of those games where you almost like an idle game or like an incremental game where it's like, you know, what you're doing is not really that fundamentally interesting, but it's so addictive to just keep digging and keep getting upgrades that help you dig faster and dig longer and improve your jetpack speed. You have a jetpack to get out of the hole, the massive hole that you dug, you know? Mm-hmm. So I had a fun time with it. It didn't rock my world or anything, but it's a good time. For $5, I would find it would be really hard for me not to recommend it to somebody.
Is there an end goal?
There is. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I will say if anybody's looking for like an intriguing, mysterious ending, you're not gonna find it here. I mean, the ending was I'm gonna say it was kind of phoned in. It was not that interesting, but cool game. Interesting concept. Very creative.
I guess my other question on that is, after you've completed it, given that 2-hour runtime, is there anything left to do, or you kind of just move on with your life? You're done with it?
I think technically there is. So I completed it having only unlocked 2 out of, I think, 10 achievements. And it gave me a pop-up saying that there's an achievement mode or something like that, where I don't know if you dig based on specific achievements that have you dig a certain way. I don't know. I didn't try it. But it's something to do for achievement hunters. But, you know, really, realistically speaking, most people are going to spend a couple hours with it and then drop it forever, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like the premise of this game because as a kid growing up on a farm, I used to constantly just grab random shovels and start digging massive holes. My father hated it because he would drive around and potentially hit a pothole out of nowhere. So that's something that was a big part of my childhood. I wanted to see if I could reach the center of the earth at one point. I was really proud. I actually got to water once. I dug the hole so damn deep.
Well.
So yeah, that's a game I'm actually going to have to check out for sure. All right, on to our next story. This is involving Whitethorn Games. They recently had their winter showcase where they announced some new DLC for titles like Calico and also 3 games coming to the PlayStation console, which I guess another story there is PlayStation had a pretty rough couple 24 hours, is my understanding. Down? Did anyone get the deal on why they were down?
I don't think anybody has gotten the deal on why they were down, and I don't think they're planning to share.
While SilentSigns looks that up, I'll go over the rest of the announcements here at Whitethorn's Winter Showcase. They are saying that Slime Heroes is coming to the PlayStation, along with Magical Delicacy and Mythwrecked Ambrosia Island. Now, a couple of these titles, I believe, were previously released on Steam, at least. Slime Heroes is new, I know, to Xbox and PC this coming week, but Mike, are you familiar with any of these titles?
I'm kind of familiar with Slime Heroes. I feel like I played a demo or something and got the impression that it had some potential. That Souls-like tag kind of scares me, but maybe the co-op makes it better. Maybe it's a more accessible Souls-like. I don't know.
What is the obsession with slime, just in general? Why?
There are a lot of I mean, I guess there's Slime Rancher and Slimy. What other slimy games are there?
I feel like there's slime in everything. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of slimy things in video games. I don't know about slime starring in games, but there's definitely like, Dragon Quest and RPGs. They always have slimes.
but I've recently been informed. I mean, I know children love slime, right? And
Of course.
like videos about slime and making slime. And apparently on YouTube, if you don't want a copyright strike on something that should be copyright struck, if you just put slime tutorial at the end of the title, it won't be. Or at least that's what my 12-year-old told me.
What?
So we were looking up, I don't know, some Broadway show or something, and it said like such and such show, Dream Slime Tutorial. And I was like, why is there a slime tutorial about Broadway? And she goes, oh, so it doesn't get copyright struck.
Wow, so you're saying if I start showing the trailer, or I start playing the music from the trailers in upcoming indies again, and I put slime tutorial at the end of my title, I'll be able to do that?
I mean, is that true? I don't know. It's coming from the mouth of a 7-year-old, but or seventh grader rather. But
I feel like it will also confuse the search engine if I have slime tutorial.
Well, I think that's the idea.
But yeah, you're probably right there.
Yeah.
Anyways, any other thoughts on Whitethorn, or did you figure out what was wrong with the PSN there?
All it says is networks have fully been recovered from an operational issue. So not very specific.
Yeah, that's rather ambiguous, but I guess I would expect no less out of Sony.
Operational issue.
So Whitethorn had a cool little showcase, and PSN still apparently sucks.
I've never played Calico. I would like to.
I remember Magical Delicacy a little bit. I don't know if we had Ghoul Stream it or something, but it was that 2D little platforming game where food was involved. Do you recall it?
Delicacy.
You'll probably recognize it if you look it up.
I think it looked. I liked the art style. I remember. I think it was on Game Pass or something, but I never really, took the time to try it.
On to our next story, a Euden Chronicle 100 Heroes. It's getting those expansions. These have been in development for some time. There's going to be 3 DLCs dropping February, March, and April. 3 new chapters for this very successful indie RPG. SilentSigns, I was a huge fan of this game. I put something like 60 hours into it or something last year. Ended up being one of my favorites, was in our awards show. Great little tribute to the Suikoden franchise. And these DLCs looks like they're going to retail for $7.99 each. Of course, because I was a backer, though, I will be getting all of these at cost.
Oh, you fancy, huh?
Yes, pretty excited about that. I'm assuming neither of you will have much input here.
I'm an RPG fan. I just didn't play it. I think you covered that base pretty well.
I'm an RPG fan that it would be more of an RPG fan if I could just freeze time to play an RPG and not have it take up 60 hours. That's why I like to keep. That's part of why I like to keep driving so much. I mean, when can you ever play an RPG that takes between 1 and 4-ish hours to complete, and then you just play it over again whenever you want a completely different experience?
I should ask you about Keep Driving. I know you mentioned it was kind of a patchwork when you were playing it. Has it continued to receive updates?
Yeah, I think it has, and I will say I've done a couple of runs since reviewing it, just because, there are all these endings you can unlock, so I thought I'd try, how much drunk driving can I do, and what sort of ending would that unlock? I got arrested. I got arrested very, very quickly, actually.
As you should have been.
But, yeah, exactly. So I appreciate the realism there. So in the couple runs I've played since, I really haven't experienced any bugs, so I didn't really see other review publications talking about them either, so I really wonder if I just got unlucky, because I haven't experienced much at all since then. They were patching it pretty quickly. It was hard to tell what was patched and what was still an issue by the time I reviewed it.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes it's tough to tell when we get the early copies and patches are still consistently coming in, because we don't know what's going to be your experience once you actually get your hands on the game.
Yeah. There's no perfect solution to that either. It's I don't know why they chose the release date they did. I don't know if delaying a few weeks was possible. Ideally it would have been nice to get, codes in reviewers' hands once all the major stuff was totally patched out. But maybe maybe some of the crashing I experienced was something they hadn't been aware of at the time. So,
It could very well have to do with which PR company distributed too, because there was probably more than one involved. So if someone had an earlier build, maybe we got that sooner than a lot of other companies, kind of like SilentSigns alluded to there. But maybe other outlets got later already pre-patched copies. So always a little bit tricky there when you're dealing a lot of different hands involved. So
yeah, at the same time, you don't want to not bring up a bug that was detracting from your overall experience, because if it's still in the final copy of the game, then we want to be able to warn people. So fine line, delicate balance.
And you know what? Either way, I feel like Silver Genie was pretty appropriate for it. It's a great game. It's not one I'm probably going to play that much longer, because I feel like there's only so much variability once you have played several runs. But it's a great game. I haven't played anything like it. And it's going to be a memorable one for a lot of people.
Though I do have to say, Car PG is chef's kiss.
A lot of people like that in the comments.
I liked writing it, so,
All right, anyways, we went on a little tangent there. If you are interested in Keep Driving, you can check out our full review. That's live now. A lot of people are enjoying that 14-minute or so review, so plenty of information in that one. SilentSigns, you had a bit of an interesting experience with a brick breaker fairly recently, December or so, was it, when you played that Sacred Symbols one?
Is interesting the right word?
Yeah, you didn't love it necessarily, but good news. There is another one on the way from the legends, Atari. They're releasing Breakout Beyond at some point here this year.
That I could get behind.
Based on the
Same.
1976 classic. It's going to have new visuals, 72 levels, and local 2-player co-op. Does this excite you?
It does. I love classic Breakout. I love it so much. That's all I wanted out of any, recent Breakout-esque game is just Breakout. So
I guess you could say if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't Breakout, I don't want it.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. I'm really into the trend of, revisiting much older games and kind of giving them this really cool glow up. And that's kind of what it looks like. Maybe not to the extent of Tetris Effect or something. I do really like Tetris Effect. But still, I can see a lot of modern audiences being into something like that. I think it looks great.
Oh my God. Have we talked about in the past how great Tetris Effect is?
I think we've definitely discussed it in the Discord, but I'm not sure on this podcast. But yes,
mind-blowing.
I freaking love Tetris Effect. There was a good week or two straight there where I was just lying in bed with this goofy headset on, laying kind of sideways up and playing Tetris Effect like a total asshole in my bed.
It was pretty sad to walk into, I gotta say.
It is one of those games where, I have to say, if you take an edible beforehand, holy hell. What an experience.
It was it was just amazing. Just Joe sitting there in bed alone in a dark room with his headset on. And I'm like,
well, just
this could be anything.
Be thankful I wasn't shirtless. That would have been much worse. So it seems like excitement all around for a new Breakout. Atari's been kind of on a hot streak, if you ask me. I think they've been putting out a lot of quality products since they've kind of tried to revitalize their brand. So we shall see how it comes out. And the last story we have to touch on here is The Beast Unleashed. Chronicles of the Wolf is launching summer of 2025. Also, isn't The Beast the name of a energy drink or something? Is that one of those seltzers that came out? Or am I thinking of Monster? Does Monster have one called The Beast?
Yeah, that feels right.
I thought so.
Is it the alcoholic one?
You said it's called The Beast Unleashed? I can't see the Steam page.
No, The Beast Unleashed was just the name of the article. The name of the game is Chronicles of the Wolf.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, quote, "The legend of the Beast of Gevaudan comes to life in Chronicles of the Wolf, a haunting new action platformer developed by Megami Games, P-Cube, and Pixel Heart. Are also partnering on this one. It's going to be coming to Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox, and Steam. So basically all major platforms, probably Switch 2, which they just can't say yet. I'm sure a lot of games are in that situation right now. In Chronicles of the Wolf, players step into the role of Matteo Lombardo, a young apprentice destined to become the true knight of the Rose Cross Order. Tasked with hunting the mythical beast, Matteo's journey takes him through sprawling castles and treacherous landscapes filled with deadly enemies, intricate puzzles, and secrets waiting to be uncovered. But the big news here, there's going to be a special guest appearance from Bloodless, the iconic character from the critically acclaimed Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which I know a lot of our fans will be excited about. Mike, any interest in this one?
As you guys know, I'm not super into retro games, but I do think the pixel art style looks really nice here. I kind of appreciate that some of the environments like castle interiors and whatnot don't just look like this sort of bland gray color that some that some games sort of settle on. It looks really nice. I don't know if I would enjoy playing it because it's just not my genre, but looks pretty cool. What about you?
I'm actually quite excited about it. I thought it looked great myself, and I know fans of the channel are definitely going to be eager to play that. We have a huge following of retro enthusiasts on our channel, and they love these Metroidvania games, and definitely a lot of Souls-like fans, too, surprisingly, which is interesting, because I definitely have shat on my share of that over the years here on the channel.
Well, there's been a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, in the indie scene in particular, so it's not that I don't like the genre, it's just that we've come across a lot of the worst because, when indies try to make something on a AAA level, it doesn't always go perfectly.
We're also not the best at them.
No, to be fair, totally no. I don't think any of us are particularly skilled at Souls-likes. I'm kind of mediocre. Mike, can you get through one if you have to?
I mean, I did. I got through Perennial Order, and I kind of loved it. That was a bit of an exception in that it kind of cut out some of the nonsense I don't like in Souls-likes, but yeah, usually I just lose patience. Certainly if I'm not reviewing it, I'll be losing patience.
All right, one to look out for either way. Now it's time for our staff question of the week. Today I want to talk about censorship. SilentSigns, this is a heavily debated topic on our channel and all across the gaming sphere. How do you feel about games being censored? We have this rating system where that's supposed to kind of give people an idea of what kind of content is in a game as it is, and yet we see Sony, which is kind of surprising because they were always the ones that were known for not censoring games in the past. It was more a Nintendo thing, kind of getting more into censorship here in the West anyways, whereas Nintendo is kind of allowing adult games and things on their platforms now. So where do you stand on censorship? Do you think it's necessary with the rating system that we have, or do you feel like it's just kind of cheesy and lame?
I don't really see a meaningful need for censorship as long as games are appropriately labeled as exactly what they are. If there's deceitfulness going on where they're saying a game is rated E and there's, full-on nudity, that's probably going to be problematic. But also that comes back to the consumer needs to be vetting the product themselves before they allow, a child to be playing a game or something like that. So I don't see a need for it personally. As long as things are appropriately labeled, I think that, it is what it is, and it's up to you to decide for yourself.
Kind of reminds me of those poor kids that went to the theater to see, I think it was like B-movie or something, and then the Purge trailer started playing, and they were all like, Mom, what is this?
See, that's hilarious.
I kind of want to pose a devil's advocate
Please do.
Response to you. So I agree in general that censorship is kind of pointless, and a lot of the times we see it are regulatory overstep in other countries, or just like Sony censoring things needlessly, things like boobs, butts, whatever, gore. I don't really care. But are there certain games whose content you would think deserves to be censored in some way? I'm thinking of games like extreme examples. Like, do you remember Hatred?
Yes.
Does that ring a bell? Yeah, so that one, I don't think that's really a great example because I don't really think that should have been censored so much or is controversial. I mean, I didn't want to play it. I didn't really want to play a game about like mowing down civilians or whatever, and that's kind of what Grand Theft Auto is a lot of the time. But is there a line there? Is there a line where people can be like supporting terrorism or like do it like where? I've always kind of wondered to myself, I don't have a perfect answer, but like where is that line of like content actively sort of advocating for something that should not be advocated for?
I think it's art like any other form of art, right? We don't have to like all of it, and maybe all of it isn't even trying to get us to like it so much as making some sort of statement, which I think a lot of people get stuck on that fact. The best example I can think of, because I still to this day get comments on this video, is Rachel Foster. It's a really interesting game that has a very dark twist to it that many people were not a fan of. I myself also not a fan of the twist necessarily. The antagonist is, how do I put this delicately?
A P word? We'll say that. Well, that could mean different things.
An offender.
Okay, yeah. I think you can figure it out from there.
Yes. So everybody was up in arms about the game because, oh my God, how could you support a game with this in it? And the whole idea of the game is that's the antagonist of the game. He's not meant to be liked. He's meant to be disgusting, right? So I don't know if you need to censor the game because of that necessarily, but a lot of people were upset about it. But I think that's the whole point. He was there to upset you.
Yeah, that's the whole kind of thing with art, right? It will make you feel a certain way, whether it's good or bad, that's up to the artist. But
that's where I think it comes in that you need to properly label games like that with the content that they include, because if the wrong person plays that game, it could be very upsetting.
Oh, yeah, and I think this is why we have the adult rating, too. And I also think Steam does a pretty good job. It is at the bottom of their page, but they do list all of the specific types of content that are going to be in those games.
So long as those warnings are there and is rated accordingly, I think it's important to have pieces that make us feel things other than, happy or...
So, even like Mike's argument kind of was, even if someone is developing something that is intentionally hateful to get a rise out of an audience, you don't necessarily take issue with that.
Not necessarily.
I do feel like sometimes the pendulum can swing a little too far in the wrong direction here, because when we start censoring like butt cracks and boobs, I feel like that's pretty dumb. Stupid. When you have a game where you're blowing heads off at the same time. It's like, why can we not see a naked body, but we can totally see someone's arms ripped off or their spine hanging out or any number of violent acts, but we draw the line at some breasts or a wiener or a butt cheek or two.
Oh, butt cheek or two. Yeah, I don't have the answer for you. I don't.
Censoring that kind of stuff is just pointless. Let people, as long as it's labeled appropriately so that parental controls can be put in place and all that, let people consume the sort of entertainment they want to consume.
They're going to consume it anyway. They'll just find somewhere else to consume it.
Especially with modders out there. Modders are going to restore the game to what it was anyways. So, yeah, it's kind of a losing battle in my opinion. And it really just kind of soils your product in a lot of ways. And it gets people talking about your game, but maybe not in the way you intended them to. So let us know in the comments below. How do you feel about games being censored? We want to hear from you. We'll read them on the next show. That's going to do it, folks, but we do have a few fun videos headed your way next week, right here at I Dream of Indie Games. Of course, our upcoming indie releases, there are 9 of them to look forward to on our Indie Games That Will Have Your Wallet Crying series. We also have reviews coming of Recall, Empty Wishes, Guns of Fury, Slime Heroes, which me and SilentSigns will be playing together, and After Love EP.
Which we will not be playing together.
We will not be playing together, but I feel like you'll probably enjoy because you tend to like rhythm games, right?
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see when that all comes together. Mike has the week off. I understand you'll be doing a little bit of programming or something, is what you told me?
Yeah, I've been trying to learn Godot. I had learned a bit of Unity back during the pandemic and started trying to develop something for myself. And then they had the whole runtime fee debacle last year. And I was like, I don't know. If I'm going to try this again, maybe I'll try the more up and coming engine. And there have been some pretty high profile games made in Godot. I realized recently that Rise of the Golden Idol, which I've been kind of playing on and off myself still between reviews, is a game that's made in Godot. And I think the new Slay the Spire sequel coming in early access this year is made in Godot as well, strictly because of that runtime fee debacle that Unity had. So I find it really interesting to kind of just learn how games are put together and try to do something myself. Whether that materializes into anything will remain to be seen, but I would love to try.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this week. We'll see you all on the channel for more great indie gaming content and Voice to the Voiceless. For far too long, you, the gamer, have been denied honest gaming coverage. Indie developers and publishers have lost their voice, but no longer. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames to join this epic campaign for indie visibility. The echo chamber trembles as our message grows louder. Voice to the voiceless.